Hero is the latest offering from Devolver Digital, and like the bulk of their stable, it's got a style all its own. Dropsy! It might be best described as a Gothic, chiptune, pixel art, story-driven deck-building roguelite idle RPG. Aren't gaming subgenres great? If you've played Slay the Spire, Darkest Dungeon, or Idle Hero, you already grasp at least one facet of Loop Hero's, loop. What makes Loop Hero special is the exact mix of these elements, plus a fantastic attention to detail when it comes to look, feel, and especially score and sound design. The well-developed soundtrack and unique effects for seemingly each and every click I made kept me engaged in my 4-hour preview session, which involved the tutorial, a few dozen loops around the post-apocalyptic world map, and one ill-fated standoff with the Lich, the game's big baddie. From what I could glean, the story is surprisingly deep, with well-written introductions to each monster class and an ongoing narrative that builds, Hades-like, between your runs. The story plays with the idea of memory as matter, with your unnamed hero trying to resurrect a completely disassembled world by recalling creatures and places. This manifests as developing a deck of cards, drawing cards and items by defeating monsters in idle-style combat, and playing those cards to build out a map suitable to your loopings. There's a great feeling of trade-off between placing a new obstacle in your own path, potentially threatening your run, and the desire to face as many foes as possible in order to harvest upgrade materials and resources to build out your base camp. This is a roguelite and not a roguelike, which means that your campsite, the one safe square on the board, slowly gets built up, providing a cast of characters for you to interact with and unlocking new gameplay mechanics like additional equipment slots and potion use. I found my brain thoroughly tickled by the cycle of attention needed to keep all of my various play systems in balance, and the simple but assured art style conjures a melancholic tone that pairs perfectly with the subject matter. It was delightful to watch baddies jumble up organically into enemy parties to later dispatch, and the elegant status effects system felt like RPG icing on the cake. As far as negatives go, I personally found the balance of reward versus input to be a little grindy, at least at the top of the game. I spent a lot of time wishing I had access to a wider variety of cards, monsters, and items earlier on in my playthrough, but that speaks to a depth that my 4 hours only hinted at, and I can hope that more time with the game would unlock some truly spectacular game changers and card combos. I also wished that some of the systems were taken even further. For example, it added a ton of fun to be able to upgrade land tiles through placement, creating a Harpy's Eyrie by building a grid of 9 rock cards, for example, or getting treasuries to pay off or fields to bloom through careful positioning. But not every card interacts as robustly with the board around it as you might think. I rarely found myself pursuing any strategy other than simply playing everything in my hand, but one can hope that the placement and deck building aspects of the game will open up and become even more complex as I penetrate further. Oh, and a side note, the game can be played at 2 speeds, but I think only the most novice of gamers will find a reason to employ the slow setting. Regardless, Loop Hero has more than enough going for it to justify a playthrough, and I'll certainly be picking it up to help me while away some hours in quarantine amongst the slimes and flesh golems. Loop Hero is from Devolver Digital and 4 Quarters, and is expected to release on Steam in early 2021. To stay up to date on the latest in gaming and entertainment, keep it locked to IGN.